Good afternoon, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners, doing a trading coaching video for everybody. Here's a fact for you. Leading groups produce leading stocks, and leading stocks produce leading groups. By looking at the ETFs, we have a good idea of where there is strength, potential strength, but also where there's weakness, areas to avoid. Both factors are very important. It's like looking at both sides of the same coin. Here we go. So we're going to take a look, and we always look at weekly on the left and daily on the right. And what do? We have this sorted alphabetically. So I don't want you to think this is sorted by percent off high. No, just alphabetical. We're going to go down the major index ETFs. So here we go, BOTZ. You can always see the ticker symbol right here, or it's over here too. BOTZ, weekly on the left, daily on the right, as I said. And you can see it's just kind of chopping around. In fact, this is what's interesting. There's a lot of stocks are doing like this. They're going up, and they're just kind of wiggling around. They haven't lifted off yet. Even here, this is a valuable lesson for you, and I'm not being negative. This is a great chart reading lesson. Just because it's a green bar doesn't mean it's a good bar. Or the inverse is true. Just because it's a red bar doesn't mean it's a bad bar. Note this bar. It gapped up and closed down below where it opened. Do you see this? On increasing volume. It's an up bar versus the previous bar's close, but it closed again below where it opens. It's met with some selling pressure. It tells us very quickly there's not a lot of power there. That is a great lesson. Let's continue onwards. Cloud computing is just basing right here. Perhaps it'll lift across these tops. What do we need to see for this to happen? For power. And by the way, it's telling the group is decent. Look at the weekly chart. You could look into some cloud computing stocks. Punch up CLOU and you can find some leading stocks in that group. Are owned by this ETF. So perhaps taking out these highs here could be a potential, but it's going to need real volume behind it. The trend is still up though, all right, as you can see, and that's a plus. Continue onwards. The diamonds had an ugly reversal bar here, dropped down on heavy volume, just a quiet inside bar. The trend is up, all right, and that's good. It's walking up the ADMA. It tells us, and that's the Dow 30, by the way, which is not a really great measurement of the broad market, but it's saying the Dow's looking good. There's some Dow stocks that are doing good, and they have been. That's good to know. Maybe look into the Dow 30 and see if there's anything good. First Trust Internet. Just basing here, it's trending nicely. It looks good. What does that tell us? Internet, and you can see it on the weekly. Internet stocks, they're acting okay. That's good to know. Okay, I'm not saying buy it, but it is saying that it's not in a downtrend. So it's a group to consider. Continue onwards. The IBD 50, it's doing okay. But it is, there's some selling pressure in here. I mean, they're selling on this bar, they're selling on this bar. There's good volume on this bar, but then it reversed down. It's a little sloppy here. It's telling us the IBD 50 just isn't as powerful. Now, that is not a criticism of the IBD 50. No, it's just pointing out there's not a tremendous amount of broad power in the IBD 50 stocks. But there are some that are working, okay? And it's your job to find them, our job. How could you find them? Take the IBD 50 and sort by percent off high. The best stocks come up front. There you go. FV, now this is looking good. First Trust, Dorsey Wright. Look at the base here. Look at the cup and a handle form in here. This is a great lesson for everybody. Down, but not on heavy volume. Up on heavier volume. See this little cup with a handle here on the daily? And here's the cup and a handle on the weekly. And I'll draw this for you. There you go. That looks pretty good. FV, that's something to take into consideration, or some of the stocks in that group. Let's continue onwards. China has been chopping around here a little bit, and then it finally lifted off on Friday. So what does that tell us? Maybe looking at some Chinese stocks. What are two that could be potential? Alibaba and BIDU. Both of them were on the key list, and both of them lifted on Friday. Look at that. Isn't that neat? Just being prepared. Nothing fancy. This is another very important maxim for you. People talk with their mouths and vote with their pocketbooks. Folks, they voted. Look at the volume. There you go. And what does it say? China's improving a little bit. That's good to know. Okay? Gold miners, stay away. I mean, look. Check this out. Oh, here we go. China. Oh, that's lifting up. Gold miners. There's nothing to do with it. It's going down. Leave it alone. Oh, maybe it's going to bounce. Why play the maybe game? We can find something that's already acting good. So gold miners, nothing to do with it. Gold is just basing here. Now this one looks a little bit better. Okay, you can see the space. You can see this ran up and it's choppy down here, okay? Here's gold, And you can say, oh, I see a base here. If it could take that out, that might be a potential in GLD, and maybe you could find some gold stocks. Isn't that neat how you connect it? But what does it need to do? It needs to show some real power. You can say, Pat, why do you say this? It went up on pretty good volume, but it fell on heavier volume, and then it lifted up Friday, but not on heavy volume. So there's not a lot of conviction. Continuer, biotechnology, there's nothing good there. Leave it alone. That's it. Don't overthink it. Oh, maybe it's just choppy and sloppy. All right? Why mess with it? Oil and gas is picking up, and it has been strong. What does that tell us? And what has it told us? Look into some energy stocks. Isn't that nice to know? You can punch up IEO and find out their top 10 holdings. Software technology is trending nicely on the weekly, and it's trending nicely on the daily. Just basing here. It needs to start to lift and show some more power, but it's been a decent group. We've been involved in some software. Let's continue onwards. Medicine is, again, it's chopping around. Notice this. It goes up, and then it falls on, a heavier volume than it went up on these bars. It's chopping around. It looks okay. Okay? It looks okay. There you go. Mid-cap. It's hanging in there. It's got resistance here on the weekly, though. This is why we have weekly charts up, too. This will really help you, team. Have weekly charts on the left and daily charts on the right. You'll be able to see bigger picture. I mean, you look at this and go, oh, this looks okay. Yeah. But look what it did. It rallied right into old resistance from here and here. Isn't any strange coincidence that it paused there? Not a bit. It's that old resistance. Maybe it'll form a handle and take off. There you go. Aerospace and defense is hanging in, but it's off. Look at that. It's a big tail bar here. It's awfully loose. Okay. Really whippy. Whippy on the weekly too. Just be a little careful, aerospace and defense. U.S. home construction has been good. Look at this weekly trend. Look at the daily trend. And that is why we own either 3 or 4 home building stocks. And we have for a while. For a while. It's told us, the stock action, the index action, hey, stay with them. We're fine. There we go. Is there anything to do with it at this point in time? No, it's just basing up here. Maybe it'll take off again. We'll have to watch and see. Growth. S&P 500 growth. iShares. Acting decent. Look at this. Look at the trend. That's nice to see. Folks, this is why we do this every week. People can get all negative on the market and say, no, I've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to try to make money, right? And these charts guide us. You can punch up IBUY and see what their top 10 holdings in. It's trending nicely. Good to know. Small caps hanging in there nicely, forming a little handle right here. What's the one slight negative? You can see it on the daily too, all right? What's the one slight negative? Reversal bar down on heavy volume on Thursday, lifted up on much less volume on Friday. So it needs to take out these tops, and I'll draw it for you. And that's close enough. What does that say? Small cap stocks don't look that bad, do they? Okay, that's good. The rally spread out. Real estate, a little sloppy here. Look at that selling bar on Thursday. Be careful with that. Not a lot of power in real estate. Move on. In this area of real estate, okay? Home builders are good. Real estate, different section, different sector. Look at transportation. Look at this trend, folks. It's saying, maybe I should look at some transport stocks. There you go. What could be transport stocks? Well, you can punch up IYT and see what are their top 10 holdings. Perhaps it's shipping. Perhaps it's shipping by freight on ocean, water, or shipping on rail, or shipping in truck. There you go. Continue onwards. Just looking for power. Airlines a little choppy here, okay? Not a lot going on. Be careful with airlines. You don't have to overthink it either. Regional banking, you look here and you go, well, that doesn't look too bad. And then you look at the weekly and go, holy cow, look at all that overhead supply. Be careful with regional banking. There is a ton of overhead supply here. Sellers, people that still own it that are going, when it gets near my price, I think I'll sell. Be careful with that. Be cognizant of that. Mid caps hanging in okay. And you can see on the daily, oh yeah, it's just kind of going up here. But then you look at the weekly and you can say, oh, look at this. And I'll draw it for you. Pretty close to here. There you go. That's close. There you go. Just kind of going up. Maybe it'll lift off. But this was a reversal bar on Thursday, so be careful with it. All right? Continue. But it does tell us something. The mid-cap sector isn't bad. Let's continue onwards. Oil services. Look at how that's acting. That's acting good. What does that say? And it has said it for a while. Maybe look into some energy stocks. There you go. I love it. You know what's awesome? It's, again, we've got a limited amount of time. Hey, let's use it wisely. Let's see where the strength is. Pharmaceuticals are hanging in. That's okay. NASDAQ 100 QLD's hanging in here. Maybe it's going to, look at the trend here. This is why we don't pay attention to what, all the pundits and stuff like that. Just get in line with what's happening. You don't have to forecast, all right? It'll help you. You see this trend here? That's a beautiful trend on the weekly. Do you think we own some big NASDAQ stocks? Yes, we do. And have we for a while? Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And it's told us to, all right? Apple, Amazon, NVDA, they've made good moves. And there's others just riding trends. I'm not saying buy them now, but this chart on the weekly was saying, hey, you might want to take a look. There's some leadership in the NASDAQ 100. Let's see where it is. There we go. Connect the dots. Here we go. QQQ, same situation, non-leveraged. Retail's acting decent. That's good to see. Looking at some retailers. Silver's a little bit sloppy here. All right. It's a little tarnished. I had to do that. I'm sorry. My kids would shake their heads right now. Anyway, just sloppy here. I mean, look. Gaps up, runs up, drops down, gaps up, drops down. These are tail bars. Be careful with that, okay? Just for what it's worth. Steel's hanging in. That's good. Maybe it'll form a handle up here. Looks good on the weekly and the daily. Steel stocks. Semiconductors. Now look at that one. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Look at this base here, folks. Maybe it's going to take out these tops, and there's some accumulation in here. A little bit of distribution here, and now it's lifted again. Let's watch and see what happens with semis. You could look at some semiconductors. Spider's acting decent, trending. What does that say? Here's the weekly. It says the trend is up. So we can sit there and read all the stuff that's out there and get negative and everything. The best news there is for all of us is the charts. Watch the charts. Don't be ignorant of the news when it comes to earnings numbers and things, or earnings coming out. Be real careful with that. But look, it's trending nicely. What does this tell you on the weekly and in the daily? Hey, you might want to get involved with us. There you go. I like that. SSO, same situation. Hanging in. Would be nice, reverse down, to see this take out the highs right there. Will it? I don't know. But the trend is up. Be nice if it went sideways for about a week and then took off. So we'll see. Continue onward. In 1 second, stay away from solar stocks. That's it. Please don't overthink it. Avoid solar stocks. Oh, maybe it's going to bottom here. Why play the maybe game when we can find things that are trending already? Trends normally can keep on running. Small caps hanging in okay. That's nice to see. Uranium, that's all right. Okay, a little sloppier and choppier, but it's hanging in okay. Energy, another oil stock. Look at that, an oil ETF. What does that tell you? Hey, looking at some energy stocks, which is why we've been involved in energy stocks. It told us to. Consumers, look at the consumer discretionary. That's hanging in there too. Says the consumers are back buying a little bit. That's good to know. Aerospace and defense is hanging in okay. Little sloppy, but it looks decent on the weekly. Maybe looking at some aerospace and defense stocks. Biotechnology, another biotechnology ETF. What does that tell you? I mean, look at this one. Say, well, that doesn't look too bad. You look at this one and say, that looks pretty bad. In 1 second, it says, I'm avoiding biotechnology. Done. Home builders, look at this move. Look at the weekly base. By the way, please look. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like I'm barking orders. I just get excited about this stuff. Folks, it really is. It's like David Ryan said. It's like a treasure hunt. We're taking what we know to see where's their potential opportunity. Look at the base breakout. Look at it on the weekly. Look at the trend, which is why we have been heavy and are heavy in home building stocks. It told us to be in them. And it's the beautiful part. We don't have to forecast. We just look for what's strong and look for an entry. That's simple. Focus on weekly and daily. Here we go. How do you build things? You need materials. Duh. And that's acting pretty good too. You see these tops up. You can see on the daily and say, oh, I see that up here. But then you look at the weekly. Watch this. You'll like this. At least I hope you do. Not as good as chocolate chip ice cream, but it's pretty darn good. Look at the base that's forming here. Here's the daily forming a little handle. Be neat if this could form a handle for a little longer and then take out the top of that line, which corresponds to this up here. And I'll show you. It's the same spot. The high here corresponds, folks, to the high there. That's good. That's what we want to see, okay? Give it a little handle period here. Form a cup and a handle on the weekly. that would be good, and we'll be prepared. There we go. And you can punch up, by the way, you could punch up XLB and see what are the leading stocks in that group. Isn't that neat? Let's continue onwards. Communications is acting good, and it's been trending nicely. Look at the trend on the weekly. By the way, this is the 8-period exponential moving average. 8-period. Look at that trend. Isn't that awesome? Energy's kind of hanging in there, a little sloppy, but not too bad. Trending, we're about done. Financials are hanging in there. That doesn't look too bad. Industrials are hanging in there. That doesn't look too bad. Technology's hanging in there. It's not as strong. This is a little bit stronger, but technology's hanging in, still trending up. That's good to see. Consumer staples, not as strong. Watch this. Take a look at the weekly chart. You see that? That looks pretty good. Go to the next one. Look at the weekly chart. It's not as strong. What does that say? Stay away from consumer staples. There we go. Maybe focus on some technology, which we have, but there's nothing going on with consumer staples. Isn't that great to know? There you go. Healthcare, it's starting to lift up. It's okay. It's okay. There's other groups that are stronger. Consumer discretionary. What does this tell you? Look at the weekly chart. It says, oh, the consumers in the market is involved. They're buying stuff, not just the stock, okay? The consumer spending money. That's good to know, okay? There you go. Metals and mining. Compare and contrast. Oh, that's trending up, Pat. Oh, that's really not. Stay away from metals and mining. Done. Oil and gas picking up a little bit, okay? Doesn't look too bad, but not real robust. A lot of overhead supply on there, right? Over in here. Retail, it's hanging in. It's hanging in, not real robust. You see all this up here and all this right here? That's called overhead supply, folks. This thing goes up. You think there's people that bought this or stocks in that group and they're going, gosh, I got buried in that son of a gun. Every time it goes up, I'm a little closer to my price. I think we'll sell some. That's called overhead supply. We don't like overhead supply, all right? Software's hanging in pretty good. That's nice, involved with software. So now we go to the MAXLIST stocks. The MAXLIST, these are the big name institutional growth stocks. Apple has been, we're in Apple from lower, and it's been trending nicely for us for a while. Note the trend here. Watch this. You'll love this. They talk about trends pay. Look at the trend. You'll love this. See the base breakout right here? Right in here? And folks, this stock has not closed below the 21-day moving average for this entire move, and we're still in it. So what's the moral of the story? Look for good entry, and you can sell some into strength, but as long as it's trending, let it work. Also, another important lesson, don't scroll and jump the chart bars so tight that you can't see them. Spread them out a little bit so you can see the nuances in the action. That will really help you. This is stuff I taught at the IBD meetups, and it's stuff I taught at Mission or teach at Mission Winners every day. There you go. It's hanging in nice. Apple looks fine. Let's continue onwards. It takes out these tops. Could be a new buy or an add-on. Continue onward. Amazon trending nicely. See this buy down here on the weekly? Look at the trend here. This stock hasn't closed below the 21-day moving average until this bar right there. That is a trend, folks. Look at that. There it is. Own it. It's working. Is there anything to do with it right now? Well, a bit of a tail bar. It's kind of wiggy up here, okay? Tail bar, tail bar, tail bar. A little loose. Be nice if it could base a little bit and then take off again. So just be aware of that. Still acts okay. I wouldn't sell it. Alibaba. Look at the weekly here on this Alibaba. Up on heavy volume, down on less volume, right? Inside bar. And you can see on the daily, up on heavy volume, down on less volume, up on low volume, down on less volume, and then it lifts off on a pickup on volume, going across the tops. So we're in good shape. Let's watch and see what happens. Perhaps it will follow through. Will it? I don't know the future, but we're in it, and we're not in it up here. We picked it up right in here a couple of times. We'll watch and see what happens. All right? And we'll control risk. By the way, you notice the price alerts, up alert and down alert. Let the chart tell us what to do. Let the computer. BIDU also lifted off. Some people bought BIDU. Look at the base on BIDU. Here, I'll draw you something. Watch this. This isn't fancy, folks. There you go. Company handle, it's deep company handle on the weekly. And look, it pushed through there. Here's the line. Here's the tops on the daily. And it pushed through, and it did it on volume. How Well, surprise, surprise. How about that? We'll make sure this is correct. Yes, it is. And it is. There we go. And it's starting to work. Volume pickup. So, see the price alerts? If this takes out Friday's highs, guess what we'll do? We'll advise to buy more. There you go. If it doesn't, we'll just watch and see what happens. Continue onwards. Google. Now, Google needs to, the best thing this could do, it's going up on decreasing volume, all right? This, by the way, this is earnings, and this leads to a very, very important point. Folks, we are in earnings season. It is mandatory that you know the earnings dates and times on your stocks. That's really important, folks. It's grinding up here, but there's no real clean and safe entry in here. Every entry should also provide a clean and simple exit in case it doesn't work. So if you buy it here, let's assume you buy this here. Where's your sell point? Where are you going to sell? You got to have a plan, okay? Is it taking out the lows of this bar, the lows of this bar, or the lows of this bar? Well, definitely if it's taking out the lows of this bar, something's wrong. But I'm not saying buy it, but have a plan. There's no real clean entry at this point in time, so be a little cautious with it, okay? Continue onwards. Goldman Sachs had a good lift. Now it's starting to sell off a little bit. Here's the weekly chart. You can see these tops right here. I'll draw this for you. There you go. And it lifted off, and here's the daily. Decent volume. Is there a clean entry on it at this point in time? No, not really. So just, got to leave it alone for right now. Continue onwards. MasterCard started to lift off, and they gave it right back. See the volume coming into it? This is an important lesson. When you see a stock gap up and then close near the lows for the day on a pickup in volume, that is a big red warning sign. Be careful, all right? Is there anything to do with it now? No, there's not. Meta. This is the weekly, and you can see the move this has made. See the clean and simple base? More about that. In good shape with it. What are we doing? We sold some, sold more. We're in good shape. We'll let it work. We'll see what it can do. It's that simple. We don't have to overthink it, all right? Trends pay. Let it work. And I love clean and simple bases. Now, let's flip to this. Microsoft. This is important. Everybody says, oh, let's just look at the winners. No, you got to look at everything. Microsoft lifted off, okay, on good volume. We bought it, sold some into strength, started to drop, sold more, lost the line, sold the rest, all right? The sells into strength helped us make money. If we hadn't sold any, we would have sold it and we would have lost a little money, but we didn't. There's another important lesson. Clean and simple bases. Look at the flat base. Price is good above the line and bad below. And you will find the best stocks push through the line when they have clean and simple bases, and the best ones just go. But it also does something very important. It gives you a good entry, and it also gives you a good exit for a much smaller loss. No day trading, just looking at the daily charts. There we go. You know what helped us? A couple of sells into strength helped us. There we go. Let's continue onwards. Nothing to do with it now. Netflix, it's acting fine, but there's really nothing to do with it here, okay? This ran up, and then they took it down on earnings. It just maybe support here on the 50-day, okay? It's a little more aggressive. This was a big tail bar here on the weekly, folks. There was serious selling on that bar, okay? I'm going to refresh this just to make sure. Yeah, you can see. That's serious selling. This gap down on heavy volume. Could be some sellers up here still that got stuck. So that's overhead supply. What's the moral of the story? Just be a little careful with it. If you're buying it, bouncing off the 10-week or the 50-day, you'll need some real volume power, okay? Be aware of that. NVDA is in great shape. Here's the weekly, all right? Our first buy on this was down here. And there's a trend for you. And it's working. And it's working here on the daily. Perhaps it'll form another base, okay? And then take off. What would be a potential setup? Potential. Right here. Now, this is a tail bar, though. Look at this. It gapped up and closed near the lows on a pickup in volume. What does that tell us? There's a seller up there. Look at the selling volume on this bar. They were selling, and then it lifted up on less volume. There's not a lot of conviction buying it at this point in time. What's the best thing this could do? Maybe go sideways for a little longer and then take off. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you always have a plan. All right? Focus on strength. Tesla. Here's a good lesson for us. This is basing here right underneath the 21-day moving average. And what catches your eyes? Well, there was a little bit of selling coming into here, right? By the way, it's had a good run, all right? Had a good run. This was owned, all right, on the key list, pushing through. By the way, there's the weekly. There's the daily. Look at the volume pickup on that bar. They voted. Look at the trend. There you go. So now what do we do with it? Here's the daily chart again. And you can say, maybe if it takes out that line, that could be a potential entry. What does it need? A couple of things, team. And this is for everybody. It needs a good market, okay? And it needs to lift through this line with real volume. And it had pretty good volume pickup on Friday. Something that bears watching. And that would be pushing through the 21-day moving average line on Tesla. Continue onwards. Visa. No. There's just really nothing good here, folks. It's too loose. Wide and loose chart patterns, wide and loose price bars indicate high investor emotions. We don't want high emotions, all right? They can whip you back and forth, and we don't want it.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.